Good evening, my friends. It's true that life is chaotic, but recent events have also made it quite disturbing. Project Veritas has information that another CNN producer had some extremely disturbing fantasies about his fiance's young daughter. Ideas that, as a parent, make me worried where our world is heading. And a former FBI lawyer convicted of felonies is back practicing law in good standing in Washington, D.C., even before he completed his mandatory probation. Okay, my friends, let's take a closer look together. Welcome to the Eye Opener. I'm your host, Michael Lewis. Now, before we get started, smash that like button and subscribe. If you love this country, help us get this truthful news in front of as many patriots as we can. So please click the share button below and we can help this country together. Let's get into it. According to the nonprofit website Project Veritas, investigates and exposes corruption, dishonest, waste, fraud, and other misconduct in public and private institutions. It goes on to say it will protect, defend, and expand human and civil rights guaranteed by the law, fight and defeat any ideological censorship, defend freedom of expression and association issues, and achieve a more ethical and transparent society. That's why it has become a thorn in the side of corrupt people. In April, Project Veritas exposed a CNN employee describing how the network showed a favorable side for then presidential candidate Joe Biden during the 2020 election campaign, while purging favorable information of former President Donald Trump. CNN has been targeted recently for many sexual harassment issues, including the firing of Chris Cuomo. And John Griffin, a producer for Cuomo's show, was arrested by the FBI for allegedly trying to lure an adult woman and her minor daughter into sexual training. He has been charged with 3 felony counts of using an interstate commerce facility to abuse an underage girl. But for CNN, this revelation may well be one of the worst things Project Veritas has ever exposed. The sex scandal that came to light involved another primetime producer for CNN, whose name was not revealed by Project Veritas during the program. A woman provided pictures, text, and video showing the CNN producer fantasizing about his fiance's daughter. The woman told Project Veritas that she was disgusted and had to come forward because these powerful people seemed to get away with everything. Veritas investigated the evidence, including text messages, FaceTime video, and photos, and found them credible. Then the woman gave Project Veritas an on-camera interview detailing all the information. James O'Keefe, founder of Project Veritas, said that they turned all the evidence over to the authorities and asked CNN for comment. This really adds insult to the injury for CNN. Democrats are rushing to pass their Voting Rights Act, which seeks to repeal state voter ID laws and other common sense election safeguards that have strong bipartisan support nationwide. As a result, it has been described by some as a Freedom to Cheat Act. Claiming the pandemic caused necessary changes in the way people needed to vote, at least 36 states passed bills related in some way to changing the rules for mail-in voting. Democrats appear to have gotten a taste of how mail-in voting can impact an election and are trying to make these ballot measures permanent or even more lenient. Republican states, on the other hand, are more likely to see them as harmful and undermine election integrity. This year's flurry of election bills generally reflect these sentiments. This year, a number of red states enacted laws stating that no one gets a mail-in ballot without requesting it first, which makes sense. Several states, including Arkansas, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Iowa, Texas, explicitly prohibit election officials from sending mail-in ballots to voters who do not request them. North Dakota also adopted the ban, but added an exception for jurisdictions that conduct elections primarily by mail. In addition, states including Kansas, Kentucky, and Texas prohibit officials from changing election rules that have been established by law. Blue states such as California, Vermont, and Nevada do the opposite by including in their laws the requirement that ballots be mailed to all registered voters prior to each election. While widespread mail-in ballot schemes have made voting more convenient, conservatives have criticized them for opening the door to fraud. Voter lists are notoriously inaccurate and often include people who have moved out of state or even dead. Some Republicans warn that ballots sent to wrong address risk being caught by cheaters. One security measure to prevent cheating is that the signatures on the ballot envelope needs to match the signature recorded by officials. However, some states have changed their signature matching rules this year. In a bill passed in September, California lawmakers made it more difficult to disqualify ballots due to signature mismatches. Election officials would need to work with 2 other election officials to determine a signature mismatch before setting aside the ballot and attempting to contact the voter to give him or her a chance to correct the problem. Previously, the law required ballots be set aside immediately after an election official discovered a signature mismatch. And in Florida, political parties and candidates can now obtain ballot certificates and reference signatures prior to voting, making it easier for them to challenge the ballot. Texas now explicitly allows observers to monitor the signature verification process. Previously, the law authorized supervisors to attend early voting committee meetings, but did not explicitly allow them to attend signature verification meetings. Tennessee passed a law requiring absentee ballots to have a watermark. Officials must check the watermark and reject ballots that do not have it. And regarding voter ID, this year, Georgia introduced some of the toughest mail-in ballot measures. When applying for a mail-in ballot, Georgians must provide an identification number from an ID issued by the state. If they don't have one, they can include a photocopy of their ID. Florida also now requires voters to provide their Florida driver's license number, another ID number, or the last 4 digits of their social security number when applying for a vote-by-mail ballot. Some red states, including Florida, Georgia, Kansas, and North Dakota, also prohibited election officials from accepting private funds for elections. The rules are an apparent response to Facebook's chief, Mark Zuckerberg's $400 million investment in local election offices last year. We will have to closely watch what happens in the 2022 midterms. Some large retailer chains who have been brainwashed by the so-called woke to write big checks to organizations that advocate the elimination of police funding will have to pay the price for their actions. In recent weeks, Nordstrom shops have repeatedly attracted national attention when mobs stormed multiple locations in California, leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage in the wake and stealing merchandise. Nearly 24 chief executives of major retailers have signed a letter to Congress calling for legislative help in the face of rampant theft and a surge in smash and grab cases. The businesses include Target, Nordstrom, Levi Strauss, Ulta Beauty, and Home Depot. These left-wing quasi-Marxist groups that advocate defunding or reforming the police include notably BLM, the National Urban League, the Equal Justice Initiative, EJI, and the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU. In 2020, Target announced a $10 million commitment to advancing social justice, including a donation to the National Urban League. And famed jeans brand Levi Strauss & Co. announced last year that it would donate $100,000 to its longtime partner, the ACLU, following Floyd's death. Home Depot also pledged $1 million to the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, which has challenged the U.S. bail law, while Ulta Beauty announced it would donate to the EJI. The ACLU describes itself as our nation's guardian of liberty. But in reality, it is the organization responsible for rampant smash and grab. Mike Solen, president of the Seattle Police Officers Guild, said, "All one has to do is log on to the ACLU website and click a category such as sexual offenders, weakening public safety, or dangerous bail reform to see exactly how this organization has contributed to the crime wave enveloping our nation." This year, some politicians in far-left cities had to reverse course and call for more police in the face of surging crime, softening their stance on cuts to police funding and claiming they never advocated eliminating police funding. They just wanted to reimagine policing. These far-left organizations also hid their positions by calling for action against vandalism and robbery, but in reality, they are just trying to shrink their responsibility for being the cause of the surge in crime. But when the chief executives asked Congress to help fight crime, some lawmakers objected. Republican Texas Representative Chip Roy said that these woke companies should first be ashamed of themselves, and they are now reaping what they sowed. Unlike these unprincipled woke companies that are getting rich by kneeling at the altar of the so-called environmental, social, and governance investments, we will always fight for the rule of law, which will help everyone. With the proliferation of far-left socialism in the U.S. dealing with crimes according to partisan interests rather than public interest and legal norms, poses a serious challenge to the U.S. justice system. Kevin Clinesmith, a former senior FBI lawyer convicted of falsifying a FISA warrant against former President Donald Trump's campaign aide, Carter Page, has been reinstated as an active member of the District of Columbia Bar in good standing even before he completed his probationary period. He was not disbarred for violating the terms of his probation or other conditions of his plea agreement, nor did he receive any sanctions for failing to file a timely plea with the review court. Last August, Clinesmith pleaded guilty to intentionally tampering with a CIA email in 2017 that was used in a third and final application for a foreign intelligence surveillance warrant against Page, allowing federal authorities to eavesdrop on Page. This is the first criminal charge by Special Counsel John Durham's investigation into the origins and intelligence gathering activities of the Trump-Russia probe. The bar's Board of Professional Responsibility is made up of 3 Democrats. Clinesmith is a registered Democrat whose outspoken criticism of former President Trump served the partisan interest of the Democratic Party. So the Bar Association showed leniency in his treatment of his crime, meaning that Clinesmith was treated favorably because of his political beliefs. However, the association's rules of professional conduct state that it constitutes professional misconduct for a lawyer to commit a criminal act that reflects adversely on the lawyer's honesty and for a lawyer to engage in conduct involving dishonesty, fraud, deceit, or misrepresentation. Do they deal with this in a manner consistent with their own rules? I found this amazing, timely article in the Epoch Times that I want to share with you. Since the beginning of time, the traditional role of the woman in the family has been the foundation of a prosperous and humane society. Her role as a God-given wife and mother is invaluable in helping to nurture the next generation while supporting their husbands in their respective roles. Contrary to what today's mainstream leftist feminist ideology endorses, gender roles do work, and for the greater good. Wives appreciate their husbands as providers and protectors can be a strength for both men and women. For people of faith, there is always a place to acknowledge God's presence in one's life, especially when women step into the role of wife and mother, or when men take on the responsibilities of husband and father. However, some of these family traditions that go hand in hand with the acknowledgement of God's arrangement for a righteous life have been lost in some cultures, such as in the Western world. God's presence has been pushed to the side. For example, when independence and individuality are sought after to the extreme that family traditions have been abandoned for the pursuit of their own interest. Cultural communism has been pushed to the front for many people through a socialist political agenda that has resulted in the destruction of family structure. This can then lead to divorce, single-parent families, and abortion. The importance of the divine as well as the family have been pushed out in a leftist feminist tradition, as they can't achieve their anti-God and anti-humanity goals without doing so. In today's world, many women feel the pressures of a busy modern life, as well as uncertainty about whether or not to pursue motherhood and marriage. Women have long been told that to be free, they must become leftist feminists and abandon the traditional codes of the past. 1960s feminism was to women of all ages what Hollywood stardom was to young people. Communism saw the family unit as an obstacle to human emancipation, and it demanded that the private family unit be revolutionized into a form of communal ownership. During the feminist movement, women were led to believe that to be a housewife was to be enslaved, and that rejecting it would lead to true liberation. While there was nothing wrong with women choosing to empower themselves outside the home, the extremism of leftist feminist influence led to some serious consequences, such as pressure on marriage and motherhood. Both were simultaneously burned out at work. Women are realizing that they have been disconnected and discouraged from their God-gifted roles during the feminist push, which can be seen across schools and workplaces. They are gradually embracing traditional feminism, where the choice to adopt the traditional lifestyle of marriage and motherhood can be an option to another type of freedom, to one that is divinely inspired. One that also has a place for man, who is honored in his respective role as husband and father, leading to strong family bonds. What 21st century housewives have in common in their marriages is how the gender roles are complementary and not competitive. A healthy relationship between husband and wife turns toward divine tradition, which in turn makes the chaotic modern world much more purposeful and peaceful in living. We were privileged to hear from several faith-centered housewives about how they see their roles in marriage and motherhood. The first is Jennifer L. Scott from Southern California, a mother of 4 and a well-known author. She is the New York Times bestseller author of the Madame Chic series and Connoisseur Kids, and founder of the Daily Connoisseur blog. Her books and videos on femininity and domesticity have inspired countless people. She said that being a true wife and mother means love and sacrifice. Family life is not always easy, but she counts being a wife and mother of 4 children as a total blessing. She is happy to curate an atmosphere of beauty and peace in her home. She said she and her husband, Ben, have been married for 15 years. He is very supportive of her role as a mother and especially of her choice to be a working mother. His support means the world. She added that her mother taught her the importance of making meals from scratch. She is from Panama and has always cooked the healthiest dishes. Her parents also taught her the importance of sitting down to dinner with her family every night. Her parents have been married for over 52 years, so they are good role models. The second is Sherry Lynn from the suburbs of Chicago, a full-time mother who works with fascinating womanhood. Her husband was raised by working parents, so the idea of his wife becoming a stay-at-home mom was a very new concept for him. She said that being a true wife and mother means loyalty, true commitment, deep love, the ability to laugh at mistakes and learn from them, and constant character building are fundamental to being a successful mother and wife. Lynn said she had a career spanning over 17 years. Her husband is very supportive and appreciative of her role in the family. She feels that women who choose to stay at home with their children are seen by society as weak or giving up, which is simply not the case. She also said that one of the most important things her mother said to her when she was a teenager: "What kind of woman does your dream man want? Just be that person." Because of these powerful words, the message of self-improvement has always been in the back of her mind. The words her mother said have also stayed with her. Children don't just need a mother, they need a happy mother. And with that being said, let me say thank you to my amazing mother. I love you, and I thank you for being a wonderful, kind human being. And most importantly, let me thank my beautiful wife, who not only runs a successful business, but amazingly takes care of me, our beautiful children, and our lovely home. I love you. And that's it for today, my friends. Check out the playlist right here for more eye-opening content. You can join me in the Eye Opener Telegram chat room and follow me on Newmaker, Gab, Parler, and Getter. Now don't forget, please sign up to the email list so that we can stay in touch. I'd like to thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next time.